SCP-2550. Object Class, Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-2550 is to be kept in a standard-grade avian containment installation at Site-24's the aviary, and is to be provided with at least 50 cubic meters of caged, open-air space for health maintenance purposes. SCP-2550 is to be fed a diet consisting mostly of North Atlantic squid with nutrient supplements sporadically administered as necessary. SCP-2550 is not to be exposed to other members of the species Phoebastria albatross. Bi-weekly, SCP-2550 is to be administered specially designed selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, designed to alter the brain chemistry of the Phoebastria albatross to increase serotonin levels. In addition, SCP-2550 is to be taken to the Site-24 external avian habitat enclosure for routine exercise and psychotherapy thrice weekly and as necessary. TTT. Description: SCP-2550 is a biotypical member of the species Phoebastria albatross, also known as the short-tailed albatross. Through poorly understood means, SCP-2550 is capable of vocalizing non-lingual human vocal cues, such as growling, sighing, and weeping. SCP-2550 does not outwardly display any increased intelligence and similarly possesses no advanced biological basis for its ability to produce sounds outside of an albatross established range. In addition, when exposed to additional members of its non-anomalous species, SCP-2550's ability to produce non-lingual verbal human expression will infect all instances of its species that can hear its vocalizations. These infected birds, collectively designated SCP-2550-A, will display anomalous effects for the remainder of their lives, but cannot spread the effect themselves. SCP-2550's typical behavior deviates markedly from that of the non-anomalous albatross. SCP-2550 remains within its nesting area almost exclusively, only exiting its perch to occasionally eat. SCP-2550 has been noted to avoid eating for prolonged periods, and has necessitated force feeding in the past. Typical avian motivation and care models are ineffective in providing for SCP-2550. Due to mounting evidence and urging on the part of Dr. Gunther, a strict regimen of specifically engineered Phoebastria albatross SSRIs have been administered to SCP-2550 with varying success in modifying SCP-2550's behavior. When SCP-2550 chooses to leave its nest, it most often perches on one of several branches provided within its enclosures, where it produces its anomalous vocalizations. SCP-2550 is most often observed sighing, suggesting moderate emotional distress, if its vocalizations thematically resemble human meanings. No other vocalizations have been recorded from SCP-2550 since initial containment, when it produced agitated growling and screaming and subsequently wept within its exposure for several days. SSRIs being administered to SCP-2550 have been mildly successful in motivating it to eat and remain active, though no meaningful change in overall behavior has been observed. Addendum: on // it was decided by 4-to-1 vote by Site-24's Avian Psychological Board that implementing a mural approximation of SCP-2550's natural habitat to the walls of its containment chamber would necessitate a more healthy environment. SCP-2550 was temporarily moved to a holding cell during this process, after which it was recontained with no outlying logistical problems. During the next week of observation, SCP-2550's mental state was seen to deteriorate dramatically. After 8 days, SCP-2550 had managed to strip the bark, branches, leaves, and other assorted foliage and debris from their typical places within its enclosure in order to obscure the approximations of other Phoebastria albatross included in containment. SCP-2550 was then noted to produce an anguished wail until successfully tranquilized and its containment area returned to its previous state. As of this event, SCP-2550 has been markedly more lethargic and seems more resistant to SSRI treatment. Implementation of more potent psychostimulants is currently pending, Acquisition Log 2550-45K Sigma Theta, on / during routine patrol of the Izu Islands archipelago in the Pacific Ocean south of Japan following the detection of anomalous redacted in reference to the now contained SCP, on-site agents reported the sounds of human populations within the local flora. SCP-2550 was discovered as a part of a local colony of Phoebastria albatross, given the temporary designation SCP-Izu-Prime, before its true nature could be ascertained. After prolonged observation, possible in part due to the Izu Islands' remoteness, SCP-2550 was identified as the anomalous component in effect. Researchers' notes during this time suggest that SCP-2550 did not display depressed symptoms while in the wild, displaying such human vocalizations as laughter and delighted exclamations. Subsequently, all instances of SCP-2550-A were exterminated and SCP-2550 was taken into custody preceding final containment at Site-24. Following initial containment, SCP-2550 was noted to scream hysterically within its transport container for several hours before losing consciousness, likely from exhaustion brought on from overstimulation due to the destruction of its colony, the initial instances of SCP-2550-A. Upon regaining consciousness, SCP-2550 remained agitated for several hours before falling into its now typical lethargic state. SCP-2550 required force feeding for the next 19 days following containment.